Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. Today I'm going to teach you how to play Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. So I've done a full breakdown and there's a full tab that I'll keep referencing that you can download from our private Facebook group. If you head to the first link in the description, join the Facebook group, navigate to the Files tab. Every tab I've ever done you can download there completely for free, don't want anything from you. If Facebook's not your thing, head to the second link in the description and you can find, that'll take you to our email list. If you join our email list, you'll get a free email every week with all the tabs that we've covered in this week's lessons, and that'll be on it as of this week. So let's get into today's class. So I've broken down the entire piece and I've tried to be as faithful to the record as I can. But I have taken a bit of artistic license here or there just because I simply can't hear what he's doing, and it's widely disputed quite a lot of this, exactly where he's playing it and one thing or another. So this is the best that I could come up with, and I think it sounds pretty accurate. I'll let you be the judge of that. So we're going to start with octaves on the on this B flat note up here. So the bass will be playing an E note. And we're playing what we call a flattened fifth away. So I'm going to play the 6th fret of the low E string. And then either with the pinky or the ring finger, I'm probably going to use the ring finger, I'm going to play the 8th fret of the D string, which is the octave of that. It's another B flat. I'm going to play two bars of that. I'm playing in quarter notes, playing in crotchets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see the little arrows on the top. Those are called accents, and that means I'm really hitting that. I'm hitting it a little bit harder than I normally would. Now it doesn't sound like much by itself, but I've put on my looper that little E note that the bass is playing, and the idea is that those notes kind of weave in and out of each other. You get the idea because they want that dissonance to start with. So this will be on the top line of the PDF. I'd highly recommend that you download this and follow along because Jimi Hendrix was the absolute best at this, and it's going to take a little bit of getting over as this tune, but we can do it. Right, the main star of the show, the main riff. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to slide from the 7th fret up to the 9th fret of the D string with my ring finger. I'm then going to play the 7th fret of the string below with my index finger, and then I'm going to go down a string again, and I'm going to play the 8th fret with my middle finger. And notice how it's like a little arpeggio? Now there's a little bend, a little quarter bend on that 8. Now I just want you to kind of we talk about it in the podcast, that's a tweak, is that. If you go... Sorry. It sounds okay, but can you see I'm just bending it out of tune a little bit. And be careful that you're catching that D string, not that G, because it sounds gross, doesn't it? And then when you hit that 7th fret with the index finger as the last note of the bar, don't be afraid to give it a little wobble. 2nd bar, I'm going to slide in from fret 4 into fret 5 on my D string, and then I'm going to rock this finger up to catch this D note up here. And then I catch the open low E string. And then I hammer between 5 and 7, that's D and E, on the A string. Let me play those first 2 bars for you. It would be a really good idea for you to get those first 2 bars under your fingers to start with, because the rest of this will be much easier, because it's all kind of based on those 2 bars. Bar number 3 is exactly the same as bar 1. And bar number 4 is exactly the same as bar 2. However, we've just got 2 extra notes over here which lead into the next phrase. So let me start here, and I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to stop here, and then we'll address those extra 2 notes. you'll hear in this piece, Hendrix is slipping and sliding all over. I could make that sound a little bit more ornate, but I'm not quite sure exactly how to get that across to you. You could go... You hear how I'm sort of decorating it by making it slippery, and I'm slipping and sliding all over. Salt and pepper to taste. Rather than trying to put those in intentionally in one place, think of this piece and this lesson as lesson 1. Get all of the fundamentals, get all of the foundation down, and then if you want me to do a follow-up lesson on how I kind of decorate that and make it sound a little bit more loosey-goosey, let me know in the comments. So, I've just played all of that, and then I'm just going to do a quick hammer again on that A string. I'm playing bar number 4 now. I'm starting at the beginning of bar number 4. I slide into the 5, go up to the 5th fret, open string, hammer, and then I'm gonna hammer those extra 2 notes just before I go to that 5th fret on the D string. And then I go to that 7th fret there, so you see how we create that little pentatonic box. I'm then going to bend that 7. Now, I'm making a stylistic choice to bend it down. Bend that note down, that 3rd note of the bar, instead of up. It feels a little bit weird bending that note up. I'm still going, if it feels really awkward for you to do it, you can do it the other way and it's probably not going to sound any different, but it feels like whenever I bend notes kind of on the A or the D string, I prefer to bend them down. I think that they sound a little bit better. And I don't want to say whether Hendrix is doing it one way or the other, but I know we're going to talk about breaking the rules when it comes to the verse later on, and I guess that he's doing that here. So I've just done the hammer from the previous section. 5th fret, 7th fret, creating that little pentatonic box. I then bend it, and then catch that 5th fret, and can you see the little lines here? That means vibrato. Then in bar 2 over here, I'm going to play that note again, and then I'm going to rake with upstrokes through the A string and the E string, and finish on this G note on the 3rd fret of the A string. And I'm going up, 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 down with the plectrum. And then there's a cheeky little open A string there before we move on to the next bit. If you can hear my amp crackling and popping and farting, I do apologise. There's not a right lot I can do about it right now. It needs a service. Right, first 2 bars. So you hear how that A note's like a precursor to the next bit. So let's jump on here. We're going to hammer on between 5 and 7. I'm doing that little pentatonic box again, 5, 7, 5, 7, but I'm hammering on the first 2, pick the second 2, but then I bend that 7 again, and then hammer between those 2, between these 2 notes over here. And then I finish that off with the 5th fret and then the open string. Hendrix likes to play with a lot of open strings because you're getting that D note, you could get that there, but it sounds more organic, and I think it kind of adds to that fluidity that he's known for of his playing. I'm then going to keep this position. I'm going to slide from 7 into 9. I'm over here, last bar. 7, 7, 9. Alternate picking, and then I'm going to tap my ring finger momentarily, catch that 12th fret, and I'm going to slide in like that. So let me stitch those 2 together. Follow along with the PDF at home, download the PDF and get that little chunk sorted, because we're going to move on to the verse now and we're going to talk about chords. Now the verse for this song, there's a couple of scary looking chords here. E7 sharp 9, G and A. Now when I spoke about breaking the rules, this is sort of part of that. Now an E7 sharp 9, whenever you see a chord like that that's got this really kind of, it looks like almost like a formula, that's exactly what it is. So E7 sharp 9 tells me it's an E7 chord, and we add a sharpened 9th note on the top. Okay? I don't think of it as E7 sharp 9. On the internet it's known as the Hendrix chord. So let me show you the Hendrix chord. So it's a 4-finger chord. I'm going to take my middle finger and I'm going to play that E note up here on the 7th fret of the A string. I'm then going to take my index finger and I'm going to play the 6th fret of the string below, the D string. I'm then going to play the 7th fret of the G string with my ring finger, and then I'm going to take my pinky and I'm just going to kick it out, and I'm going to play the 8th fret of the B string, and I'm only catching the middle strings. Now because it's an E chord, we have E's, albeit a little bit out of tune, but we've got E's either side, so you can strum all 6 strings if you want to. Let's go back to that slide. Can you see? We've got this open string, which we'll talk about in a second, and then all of those notes stacked on top of each other. So we've got open low E, 7th fret with the middle finger, 6th fret with the index finger, 7th fret with the ring finger, that's a fruity note, and then we take the pinky and we play the 8th fret. And it's that sound, okay? Now what we're going to do, we're going to hold that chord in place. We're going to pick the low E string on beat 1, and then beat 2, I'm going to strike the whole chord. Following that, I'm going to pick in quavers that low E note twice, duh, duh, and then I'm going to strike it again. Now this is a very simplified version of what he's doing, because at every bar, if I was playing it and no one was watching me and I wasn't under the microscope, I'd be going. He's not sticking to one sort of strict strumming pattern. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you a bare bones kind of version that you will find the longer that you play this song, it will kind of morph into something else, okay? So you've got open, down, 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 bass, full, bass, bass, full. Do a little bit of muscle memory around that E7 sharp 9. It seems like a little bit of a finger twister, but you will use it quite a lot, especially, I'm going down a bit of a Jimi Hendrix rabbit hole at the minute, and I'm playing this chord all the time. It will come. So then we go to a G chord. Now, Hendrix was well known for playing chords with his thumb. So if you think of regular bar chord shapes, I'd like to think some of you have learnt the F bar chord shape, this one. Hendrix was well known for taking the bar off. Let me go to my B cam. Playing the bar, but taking this fella down here, moving it down, and then putting his thumb over the top of the neck. Because when you're playing that E-shaped bar chord, the A, the D and the G strings are covered by fretted fingers, and the bar covers the low E, the B and the high E. Well, he'd cover the B and the high E with his index finger, and then put his thumb over the neck to get that. It's just a little detail that I think's worth mentioning. If that sounds like too much like hard work, just play this as a regular bar chord. But you will struggle a little bit with the decoration in the next bar. So let's talk about this G first. So I'm going to put my thumb on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then index is going to cover the 3rd fret of the B and the high E. I've got the 4th fret with the middle finger, and then the ring finger is covering the 5th. Now you could put that extra one in, but to be honest, I'm not playing it. I always sort of play this as a 5-string chord and mute this one with my thumb. It sort of gives you a bit more of a direct kind of sound. And all he's doing is he's picking the bass note twice, just as we did over here, and then striking the full chord. If I play it in situ with the chord before it, and then what we're going to do, we're going to take the shape. There's a little bit of witchcraft going on here, which we'll break down, but from here to here, all I want you to do is what we call an elbow transposition. An elbow transposition, kick it up 2 frets. I've gone from fret 3, I say fret 3, my thumb's on fret 3. That's home, is that. I'm moving it up 2 frets to give me an A chord. And I'm going to play the bass note just the once. I'm then going to strike the chord twice with a down and an up stroke, that's here. I'm then going to take my pinky and I'm going to place my pinky on the 7th fret of the B string. So that gives you a suspension kind of vibe. And then this note over here, I'm pulling it off, and then I strike the chord again. Down, up, down, up. But can you see how that pull off yields another note? Put the bass note in at the start of that A chord. Take a little bit of practice, but Hendrix was really well known for doing this kind of all this kind of, you think of Little Wing and all that things. This is like a gateway into that style of playing. If you want to get into playing like lead and rhythm, you know, this is kind of the start of all that. Right. I know we spent a lot of time on these 2 bars, but then the verse is an absolute doddle once you get this, okay? So you've got E, G, A. Now what happens there, we're essentially going to repeat that chord progression once, twice, 3 times, and then at the very, can you see how I've just chopped out verse 1 and 2. It's that 2 bar thing repeated over and over and over and over again until you hit the last bar of this slide, where it's basically an E7 sharp 9. Let me just go back to that slide so you can see what I'm doing. We hit that E7 sharp 9, and that's the tomorrow or just the end of time, and we'll get to that bit in a second. But let me play all of that in situ. If you just keep your eye on the music, so we've got E, G, E, G, A, E, G, A. So I don't know if I'll be able to sing this and play it. I'm just taught the words. Purple haze, all in my brain. You can hear the tune in it. Acting funny, but I don't know why. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Yeah, so that's all that is. The only thing that's changed in that slide, we're essentially repeating what we spent the last couple of minutes talking about. We're just repeating that over and over and over and over and over again until we hit the last bar, where you hit that E7 sharp 9, and in a sort of almost like really dramatic way, keep the pressure on the chord, strike it, and keep. You don't want to go, but you don't want to go. You want to kind of keep enough velocity and enough movement where you don't hear the stepping of the frets. Okay? Now would be a really good time to pause because we're starting to get into a bit more lead stuff, okay? If you're okay, let's carry on. So we've got the tomorrow or just the end of time. Now, Hendrix did this a lot. I'm doing octaves, so I'm playing an E octave. I'm playing an E note, which is on the 7th fret of the A string, and then I'm playing the octave above it on the 9th fret of the same 9th fret of the G string. I like to play that with my index and my pinky for some reason. It just feels comfortable. If you want to use your ring finger, that's completely cool either way. The crux of this is having your index finger in such a way that it mutes the D string. So I'm actually striking all 3 of those strings. I'm striking the A, the D and the G. But can you hear how I'm not getting any noise? I'm actually, as well, with the flesh of the fingertip, of the index finger, I'm muting the low E string as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike that, and then I'm going to slide up in that position 2 frets higher to 9 and 11. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk back down. I'm not sliding. I'm going to play where I came from on 7 and 9. And then I'm going to go down 2 frets again to 5 and 7. You could do all downstrokes, you could do down, up, down, doesn't really matter. It's that kind of John Frusciante thing, although John Frusciante was really heavily influenced by Jimi Hendrix, so that's probably got a lot to do with all that kind of playing. And then I've got the first 3 notes of the, well, 4 notes if you include the slide. The first 4 notes of the intro. You remember that from over here? Da, 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 da. Yeah? So you've got... And it'll do it twice. If you tie that into the bit before it, you'll go... One more time. And then I'm going to just quickly change my slide. I've got this. I've got that, and then... Now see, I've got a repeat marker over here. I will go back to the start of the verse for verse 2. Verse 1 and 2 are played back to back. Okay? After you've done this the second time, it then does 2 additional variations before the solo. So let's have a look at this one. Now I'm gonna keep that same kind of that same rhythm, but the notes are going to change. So this time I'm on the D string. I'm going to slide with my ring finger between fret 9 and fret 11. Index finger on the 9. And then I'm going to play the 12th fret with my ring finger, but I'm going to bend it. And in true fashion, it just repeats itself. Going into the 3rd bar, we're going to slide from 12 to 14 on the D, 12th fret on that G, and then we're going to catch an octave of that G up here on the 15th fret of the high E. So gluing those together, you've got... Now don't bend this note at the very end, because you want the octave. It's part of the sound. Okie dokie, have I run out of slides now? I have. Right, okay, so we're getting onto the solo now, etc. Let me have a shuffle around my slides, I'll come right back and we'll have a look at the solo. Right, I'm back. Let's have a go at this solo then. So, we've just come out of the... So I'm using my middle finger and my ring finger. I'm going to bend the 14th fret of the G, and then I'm going to hold it up there, and then with an upstroke and my ring finger, I'm going to play the 15th fret of the B string, and I'm going to do that twice, and then I'm going to play that G string one more time and just kind of let it kind of all stew with each other. If it was too sort of clinical, it wouldn't sound right, and that's part of Jimmy's playing that a lot of people are trying to get. It's the messiness, but the poise. Moving on, I'm going to come out of that position. I'm going to come out of 13th position, and I'm going to go up to 16th. Index finger and ring finger, and I'm going to hammer onto that between 16 and 18 twice. That's here. Da, da. On the third time, I'm going to hammer again, but I'm going to pull off again. And then I'm going to do a position shift with that index finger down to 14. And then I'm going to do a hammer and back again. And actually, that 13 kind of completes the phrase. 14, bend it. Just a little tweak. And then I bring that middle finger up again to catch the D string. Play the first 2 bars for you. Well, first 2.5 bars. Then you sort of, I think of this bit all the way over here as its completely own thing, okay? I've got 14th fret with the ring finger, and then 12th fret of the G, hammer onto 14, pull off again. It kind of goes into that bit. Whole thing. He says, we'll try that again. That occupies the whole first line of the solo on the PDF. Get that under your fingers if you feel like you're okay. Let's move on. So bearing in mind, we've just, this bit at the end over here, we've just literally played that. And you see how there's another 12. I'm then going to break out of position. I'm going to come down one. And I'm going to hammer on from 11 with my index finger to 12 with my middle finger, and then back again. And then I'm going to pick that note one more time. Then go back to where I came from. 14th fret of the D, 12th fret of the D. And I'm thinking sort of E minor scale there. Not harmonic minor. Moving into the second bar. All this is on the D string to start with. 12, 14, 12, index and ring. And then come down here to this note here. That introduces a little bit of Dorian mode for those of you that are that way inclined. And then you finish that off by coming back up. Back end of that second bar, I'm going to slide from 14 into 16 on the A with the ring finger. 14 on the D, 16 on there. So far you've got it all kind of, if you break it up into, if you make it this big, then this big, then this big, it will all sort of mash together. Right, so sorry, I've got to remind myself where we are. The next bit is like a continuation of that. So I'm going to hammer and pull off between 14 and 16 on that D again. But what's going to happen now, I'm going to slide, after I've done those 3 notes, I haven't picked again, I'm going to slide down to that 12th fret, that D note. And then I'm going to stretch with my pinky up to the 16th fret. Oh, in fact, no, sorry. Catch the 14, then the 16 with the pinky. And then back to that 12. Then I've got this big stretch. So you got 16, 12, 16, 12, 6, 16, 12. Can you see it goes from semiquavers, 4 semiquavers to 4 quavers. So that means these are twice as quick as these two dudes over here. Now this over here looks really scary. All I want you to do is I want you to bar the 12th fret and do a rake over the first 4 strings. It's more percussive than the note. The percussion's more important than the notes. When I play this and I'm not under the microscope, I actually just mute the string and just do a rake like that. But Hendrix is quite clearly he's doing it that way. This 14th fret of the D, or wherever it goes, is part of the next phrase. So get that 14 with the ring finger. Where are we? Slide 3. We're then going to go, again catching those E minor, E natural minor notes. And then I'm going to catch the 14th fret of the high E string. Hammer on between 12 and 14 on the high E and back again. Catch that D note. Back to the 12th fret of the E, I'm here. And then a bit of that Dorian kind of flavour again. And then as we move into the second bar, that 14 happens again. I'm going to hammer on between 12 and 14. Back to the 12. And it sort of finishes the way that it starts, it sort of comes full circle. Whole thing. Take a breath. It's the end of the solo there. There is a second solo, but it's not as ornate as that one. This is why you need the PDF. Go to the links in the description and get the PDF. It's completely free, it won't cost you anything, and this one process will be so much easier because you'll be able to see how each slide on this presentation that I'm giving you is one line of the tabs, and you'll be able to see how the bars kind of intersect. It'll be really, really useful. Following that, we go back to so we've covered that, but the second line is a variation. Yeah. Sorry, I made a right pig's ear of that. It's basically all around the same idea from the intro. There's just a couple of extra little bends in that. You'll if you can play the first ones, you'll be able to do those. And then I'm looking at bar 5 and 6 there. Bar 7's just the same as bar 1, and then bar number 8 is just the same as before. Following that, we go into verse 3. There's nothing revolutionary here, it's just the same. You do that 3 times, followed by nothing new in that whatsoever, it's all exactly the same. And then to finish, sorry, I've just verse 3, and then to finish, after you've done you've got this. Which is how it ends. So we've got 14th fret on the A, 12, 12. It'll do it again in the second bar. We then come back to this sort of Dorian idea. Down here. So I'm sort of thinking shape 1 minor pentatonic with that extra note in it. So I'm going 12, 14, 15, index, middle and ring. I then will come back on myself, so 14, 12. And then going to catch that 14 on the G, 12th fret on the G, and then I hit this 15th fret of the B string. That's a D note, and I bend it up to an E, which is the what key we're in. We're in E. Now from this point, I've just kind of put this at the end of the PDF because he's just literally mashing that note. He'll bend it a little bit occasionally, and it was going to take me an hour to transcribe it, and I just kind of don't know how good a use of time that was for everybody involved. When I play this in bands, I've done this a few times, I'll hit that note and I'm just mashing on it. And you hear Hendrix, he'll sort of bend it up, bring it back down, he'll bend it, but then he might overbend it. In the live clips that I've watched in preparation for doing this lesson, he doesn't play it the same way twice. So all I want you to do, and it fades out as well, so it's that sort of jam band kind of vibe. You've got the note, do what you want with it. Okay? Tones. Stratocaster had to come out. Now this Strat's currently poorly at the minute. I'm waiting to take it to our local Luthier Aquith guitar setups. It needs a new switch. I managed to sort of get it to stay, to behave itself for today's lesson. I'm using the neck pickup, a Boss SD1 with my level at 12, drive at 11 o'clock and tone at 1 o'clock, into a Fender Princeton, which volume 2, trebles on 6, bass is on 5, reverb's on 3, and the tremolo circuit's not working. Hendrix famously used Strats. I did sort of get my fuzz pedal out and tried it with a fuzz pedal. Didn't really have the same vibe. I know he's using an Octavia or something similar, and I don't have one of those on the shelf, so maybe I need to go and have a look on Guitar and see what they've got to get a little bit closer. But I've not. The only thing that's the same is the Stratocaster. You want a kind of bassier, thick, overdriven sound, not distorted but overdriven, or even fuzz, because fuzz naturally is very bassy and very kind of warm sounding. You want that flavour, and I'm running pedals into a clean amp to get that. Hendrix will have used Marshalls. I know I've got this one over here, but this is wrong era, so maybe I need to look into getting a Plexi as well. How did you find today's lesson? Was the PDF helpful? You got any suggestions? Let me know in the comments. I will see you next week for another electric guitar lesson. Thank you so much.